Good morning, everybody. My name is Tara Ingalls, and I am owner of Tingles Graphic Design and Website Development. We are a 25-year-old marketing firm located in Fitchburg. And this is the last of six Munch and Learns that I put together for this fall. If you have missed any and you want to get the recordings, you can do that at tingles.com/events. And at the bottom of that page, there's a link to our YouTube channel and you can go and watch them all there. So, and this one will also be posted there. So today we're talking about new businesses, or maybe you've started a business and you're just kind of wondering what I would recommend or what somebody would recommend for what do you really need to start your business. And so we're going to jump right in here. So that's a big question that I get a lot from, excuse me, entrepreneurs, startups, even businesses that have been around for a while. They just like, what do I really need to start marketing my business and how much should I be spending? So we're going to dive into that. These are my top six things that I feel like is work that needs to get done before you start your business. And we're going to go through each one of these, but essentially it would be setting up your Google listing, identifying how you're unique in the marketplace or your unique selling proposition, getting really clear on your target audience, and then of course doing logo design, sales collateral, and website design, and then getting on social media. So jumping right in, as far as your Google listing is concerned, Google, if you have a website, Google may have already indexed that website and created a Google listing for you. That doesn't mean that it's been claimed, or it doesn't mean that you own it. So I definitely would recommend that if you don't already have one, that would be kind of the first thing that you do. To me, it's sort of like setting up your telephone line, your email, and telling the yellow pages, online that you exist and that you're out there. So this is something that I do typically first with all new clients is just make sure that this has been claimed and then it's been optimized. And if you have a brand new business, you can set this up at mybusiness.google.com. One little tidbit is to try to set up your Google listing using an email address that has your domain in it. It will get verified a lot faster. So instead of doing tinglesdesign@gmail.com, do tara@tingles.com. So it will help you get verified a lot faster. So once you get in here and you start creating your listing, I wanted to share a couple things that people really don't know about Google, your Google listing that you can really optimize. The first is that you can set up an appointment link. So if you use Calendly or Acuity scheduling, something like that, where people can actually create appointments with you, you can label this right on your Google listing, and then people can create appointments with you and they don't even have to pick up the phone and call you. The second is that you can add a product or service area. So if you have multiple different products or multiple different services, you can create sort of like a listing for each one of those services. And then when you click into that listing, you can put a paragraph of copy and then a link to your website. So again, it's just connecting the dots with Google that yes, this is my business and here it links to my website or my service offerings. And then the last thing I'll highlight here is that this is Google's social media platform. So they want people engaging and on this platform on a regular basis, putting updates, putting news, putting offers. The other thing that I will let you know is that every time I do a training on this Google listing service, they're adding new things to try to make it more inclusive, and more informative per people. So for example, it will give you the option of listing that you're a female-owned business or a male-owned business, a veteran-owned business. Maybe you speak Spanish. Do you have wheelchair accessibility in your space? Stuff like that. So I encourage you at least quarterly to be going out and clicking through every single section and making sure that you've answered all of Google's questions because they don't notify you that they have these questions. But so that's your Google listing. Um, you want to aim for this green circle. So you want to go for the green. Google will favor you as a more credible business. You're more likely to show up in the near me local results. And then customers obviously get very complete info on your business, who you are, what you do right away, which, Google is trying to support. Okay, so the second thing is getting really clear on how you're unique in the marketplace. If you don't know what you bring to the table for your business, it's very difficult for you to communicate that to your prospective clients. So I feel like there's uniqueness in four different areas: people, process, products, and pricing. And if you're interested in a worksheet, I have a worksheet that I send out to people that asks them 10 questions under each one of these categories about your uniqueness in each area to get you starting to think about maybe what your customers are going to be asking you as far as frequently asked questions. So if you're interested in that worksheet, go ahead and throw a worksheet in the chat and I will get it over to you. But getting clear on how you're unique is really what marketing is all about. It's what you're shouting from the rooftops when you're meeting somebody. It's what you lead with on your website, especially if two people are comparing, or if somebody is comparing you with a competitor, you want to be really clear on what you're bringing to the table. The third thing here is understanding mass marketing versus niche marketing. And I was asked to speak at the Middleton Chamber for their power lunch. And I've been told by people that this was the most eye-opening thing that they were really surprised that their company doesn't do. And that's really getting clear on who your niche is and who your target audience is. So this is an example of a fitness company that I did some targeted Facebook marketing for. And we were getting very clear on the type of client that they were looking to bring in for a new program that they were looking for their male clients. And, this is just some demographic information, but we got pretty deep into some psychographic, some purchasing decisions, found out where they were shopping, those kinds of things. So, instead of appearing to the masses, which I believe is what most new businesses really want to do, is get their name out there and that kind of thing, which is totally fine. But you will get more powerful results when you niche market because you're able to, when someone asks what you do, you can say, I provide, services to XYZ. If they're going to be able to think of somebody probably in that niche a lot easier than if you're just like, I work with guys that want to lose weight. If you've got a gentleman that that's been trying to lose weight, that's got the dad bod, that's a soccer dad, has been sitting on the sidelines, but really wants to get fit again, you probably can think of somebody in your head that would be a good referral for that company. So this is information a little bit about target audience. So as far as logo design is concerned, so obviously my firm offers logo design and we have a really fun process for our logo design. But the biggest question that I get is, can I use AI for my logo design? So I'm going to talk a little bit about the pros and the cons of AI generated logo design to get you in the mindset before you maybe decide to go this route. So the pros for logo design is that it's very fast, right? Whether you're using ChatGPT or some of the other like Claude, some of the other image-based AI learning, you can get a ton of ideas. So you can kind of maybe refine the direction if you were noodling on something or you were sketching something. It's very easy to use. You don't need any design skills. That said, most AI programs are only going to give you the logo in a JPEG format. So if you wanted to have a shirt made or put it on your car or make it really big, you're going to have it vectorized by a professional company anyway. So that's actually kind of a con that there's not the vector format of the logo in there. Um, but it also helps you explore lots of different ideas. So you can test, do you want to go playful? Do you want to be super professional and rigid? And you can kind of see lots of different design samples, without committing to one direction. The cons, on the other hand, and what we have found, is that AI is pulling from what is already on the internet. So often you end up with something that looks just like your competition or something that everybody has. And there's really no strategy behind it. Like they're not interviewing you to understand your story, what gets you out of bed in the morning, how you're unique, how do you plan to market your business, those kind of things. And then the most important thing I found out was that you can't copyright your logo. The copyright law requires a human author, so you can't protect your logo, which would mean that that anybody could basically knock it off and use it because you can't copyright it. So that's kind of a big problem when it comes to logo design. So as far as logo design is, if you want to go the AI route, this is a little trick that we help our clients with to make sure that that the design isn't used elsewhere on their internet. Obviously, you can't copyright it, but you don't want something that's kind of similar to someone else. So let's say this is your fancy new logo. So what you would do is you'd isolate the icon version because obviously nobody's going to probably have the same name as you. But if you isolate the iconic or, logo representation of your logo and put it into Google's image search, you're going to get a query of all the different graphics in Google Images that are similar to that. So for this example, this particular icon, this, I just pulled it off of Google Images, but this CPFI Inox, that icon looks pretty darn similar to that. So I would, change colors, maybe change something about it so that you're not, copywriting on potentially or infringing on their potential copyright for their logo. So as far as logo design is concerned, I'd be remiss in not saying that we do offer that service. But if you're going to work with AI to save money, these are just some tricks and tips and things that you should keep in mind if you're going to go that route. Once you got your logo, obviously you're going to want to start building out your collateral, right? These are the three things that I feel like every business owner really needs to have: a business card, some sort of print collateral, whether it's a postcard, a brochure, a rack card, something that you can bring to networking events and leave on a table, something that you can mail a prospect when you've met with them. That's just a little bit more information about your company. And then maybe with a QR code that would go to your website. So this is Fisher Custom Builders. They have a 3-page website, very small website, but it does a really good job of talking about how he's unique, what his experience is, and then he has like an about page and he has a contact page. So really, really simple, nothing too flashy, but something to get him, that digital front door. So when people are reaching out to him and wanting to set up an appointment with him, he has a lead generation form and that kind of stuff on the website. And this was designed in Squarespace. And then lastly is if you need to hear this, I'm giving you permission to only pick one social media channel to do. A lot of my clients are like, "Oh, I feel like I need to be on all of them." But really just go where your main target audience is already hanging out. If the buyers aren't scrolling there, it's not worth your time to do it, even to have a profile there necessarily. Match the platform with the content that you plan to share. So if you're doing photos and videos, maybe Instagram and Facebook would be a good platform. But if you're wanting to share expertise and articles, maybe that's LinkedIn or something like that. So again, start with one channel, do that channel really well, and post regularly and seeing what's getting engagement. I feel like the Meta Suite for Facebook and Instagram does a really good job of making it very clear what's working and what you're getting engaged on. So then just rinse and repeat. And that is what I would recommend for social media. So the budget question is very difficult for me to even do internet searches on what is the general ballpark for these things, because you can hire my firm for a logo, for example, and it will be $1,800 versus if you hire an agency, like a really robust agent, it could be $10,000. So these are just rough numbers that I found, that other people that are sort of in my lane from a standpoint of graphic design, what they're charging for like the things that I've already talked about today. So, startup consulting, which is what I do with a lot of companies, and I help walk them through that unique selling proposition and target audience to help them get out of their own way and understand a little bit about their company. Logo design, like I mentioned, is 1,800 with our firm. You can go, there's companies that do it lower. You could contract with Madison College students or something and hire them as an intern for your company, have them work on your marketing. It's really great win-win for both of you because you get a low cost option and they get some portfolio stuff that's not their school portfolio, which is great. Business card and brochure, this is another weird area because if you're providing the content, the design takes a lot less. But if we're having to write the content, interview you and write the content, might take a little bit longer. And then a simple, 2 to 3 page website could be anywhere between like 1,800, 2,500, something like that with my firm. There's a lot of do-it-yourself website builders online. Just be very clear that you're building it with search engine optimization in mind. And there's a lot of great tools online to help you discern what that is. So hopefully that's helpful for you today. If you are a new startup and you're trying to figure out how to get started, I would love to have a conversation. You can scan this QR code and get on my calendar. But I wanted to, I hope you found this enjoyable today. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer anything that's a burning question of yours.